Welcome to the Turning Stone Show, where we discuss topics of the human experience. We're here to offer conversation, ask questions, and explore. We invite you to join with us on this journey in the discovery of purpose and life. I'm David Marsh, and here with me, as always, is Jesse Farrell and Justin Mamon. Today's episode is about beliefs. Where do we get our beliefs, and how do they shape our actions? Recently, we went out to a public market and asked some people what they felt about beliefs. Where do we get them? And here's some of their answers.
I think through a lot of experiences in life, not only how we feel about ourselves, but how we feel about other people and how we interact with them.
We have experiences that are good, and so we'll believe that works, and then we have other experiences that do not work, and we leave those behind.
From when you're a child, maybe how you were raised.
Parents.
I believe I'm a Christian child of God, and I try to lead my life as such.
What pushes us to do right and what helps us figure out what's right between right and wrong.
You get it from yourself, from what you learn.
It really shows how people live their life. You can see what they believe.
I'm not sure because I don't believe in really anything, but it's just whatever you feel inside is your beliefs.
Some people get them from religion and some people get them from their parents.
Codes to live by, but they're open to change too. But you have to be open to see if, maybe that belief is not true anymore. It served me in the past, but it doesn't now. So I'll have a new belief.
If you're lost, you'll cling to someone else's beliefs. You'll find a book or read a story and you'll find value in that and hold on to that. But that's for people that can't get it right in their own mind. So
guys, why do we believe anything? Justin?
The first thing to explore is uncertainty. Inherently, life is filled with uncertainty. And part of the human experience is attempting to establish routines and elements of certainty in really a relatively uncertain experience. We do that in all sorts of different ways. Nature has built into us circadian rhythms and sort of like patterns of existence that give us a sense of security. Like, I know I go to sleep at the same time, I wake up at the same time, I eat breakfast, I go through this process. But there's still this sense of, at any given point in time, we watch people around us pass away. We watch people break their legs. We watch people, you know what I mean? Yeah. We watch people get in car accidents. And so we have to find a way to create some sense of security or predictability of where we're going, because we don't know. So we believe that that there's a magical force. We believe that we're going to heaven. We believe that if we think positively, that good things are going to happen to us. We have all different levels of belief, and I think ultimately our beliefs are designed to create predictability in an uncertain world.
That's great.
What do you mean that there's a magic force?
I like to read a lot of philosophy, and Dave and I have talked about Ken Wilber before, integral theory. And with integral, he believes, there's pre-conventional, conventional, post-conventional, trans-conventional. Then there's pre-rational, rational, trans-rational. Religion, in certain forms, represents a sort of magical or mythical way of thinking or explaining. These are explanatory styles for reality, really. They're ways of explaining the current reality and telling stories about how they came to be and what we're all doing here, answering that question. So when I say magical force, we can name it any way we want. We can use words like God. And then we can interchange those with energy, universe, spirit, anything we want. But essentially, it's naming the unnameable, right? It's the force that's animating me now. Because ultimately, I'm organic material. What is this that's coming through me?
And thus becomes the magic that each of us experience when we actually believe in something, whether it's God or Jesus or I'm going to sit on this chair. Like there's a sense of magic, actually, that comes from that belief.
Yeah. It transforms our experience definitely to attach a belief to it.
Mhm.
It changes our experience. It gives it a different meaning. We talked about meaning last episode, and I think beliefs and meaning are definitely hand in hand.
Yeah, they're tied together. That's
Yeah,
good.
it's
I
a way
really
for
don't.
us.
I don't want to pass by the certainty. I think that is really important.
It's a huge part
I
of the
think
belief.
we need certainty. People that study the human brain, they have shown brain studies that say when you're certain of something, parts of your brain just light up.
Yeah.
People crave certainty. I need to know that I'm right. I need to know that I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm special. I need certainty. Certainty gives me the feeling that I'm not, there's no error, I'm going the right direction,
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay, and I need that. Whether it's wearing your seatbelt because you're certain then you won't die. If it's eating the right foods, you're certain you're getting the right nutrients. If you train your child in a certain way, when he's older, he won't depart from that. I need
Exactly.
certainty, and that's so important when people are having a belief system. But somewhere along the way, we find out, maybe in those young adult years or those first parts of our lives in college, when we realize there's a lot more to the story than I knew about. There is more going on here. And then our beliefs, they kind of upset the apple cart and they begin to change. And with new information, we start to formulate new beliefs. So new beliefs begin to shape and shift and evolve. And so that certainty that we craved, it gets jarred with doubt, and then something happens there.
And doubt is beautiful.
Doubt is the changer.
Doubt is beautiful, yeah.
Well, and then also inside of the uncertainty, on the other side of that, is where we create a lot of our beliefs and judgments. The uncertainty, the unknown, is where a lot of the fear comes from. And then naturally, in prehistoric and even currently, there's always that unknown factor where the uncertainty is there. We like everything to be certain. Our bodies and minds are not necessarily designed, they are designed to be able to deal with uncertainty as well as certainty. We are very uncomfortable with uncertainty.
Yeah.
And so naturally, when we're in an unknown or uncertain situation, our bodies and our minds can naturally go into that fight or flight. Our own form of protection, whether it's shutting down or removing ourselves or fleeing or whatever it is, we want to be disconnected from the uncertainty rather than actually moving into the uncertainty and exploring what is the uncertainty. I think if spending more time inside of the unknown and being more comfortable with the unknown and the uncertainty allows for old belief patterns to begin to disappear, and we actually can begin to create some new beliefs inside of the exploration of the unknown and the uncertainty.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think in some ways it's analogous to going to the gym, lifting weights, and growing in a sense of fitness, right? I think that in some ways challenging our belief systems with discomfort is pretty analogous to that. If you haven't been to the gym in a while and you're really out of shape and you extend yourself too far, you're going to injure yourself, right? And I think for some people that's what happens if you completely deconstruct their belief system or challenge them in a way that totally messes up their reality. And I don't think you really want to, I don't think that's what you really want to do. And the healthy way that you grow is to find out where your edge is and to just add a little bit more weight there. And then each time you're pushing you're kind of growing and expanding just a little bit more. And I know for me that's, man, when you get your whole world blown wide open, it's like, that affects your stability at work, at home. And by nature, we seek equilibrium. We want stability, and we receive stability through our belief systems.
That's great. So you have stability, you have certainty, you have your beliefs. That means you know the truth.
Right. You have to feel, and I think the healthiest minds out there are able to hold space for the uncertainty and still act in confidence in their everyday choices, because that's what it's about. You said whatever direction you're moving in, you want to know that it's the right direction. You want to know that this dream that I'm trying to pursue is going to fulfill me. these parenting practices that I'm, employing with my children are going to bring out the best in them. And if you don't believe that, then why are you doing it? Right? So I mean, it's a big question.
So then that begs the next question. If you know the truth, is it then, Jesse, not your duty to go around and tell people that you know the truth?
That's
rhetorical question.
Is it not then your duty to proselytize and tell people, I know the truth, you need to know the truth the way I do?
Well, I don't think that we come across that way. We have our own ways of being able to do that. It's like my way is the right way, and that's how we communicate it, whether it's passive aggressively or whether it's with force or whether it's political or oppression over large groups of people. Like we all have our different way of sharing our truth or forcing our truth down others. Again, I think, I've talked about this before. I think it's definitely finding your own truth and discovering what truth is for you and what resonates for you. For me, I know, like, for myself, I don't necessarily look at truth. What is truth? Like, for me, oftentimes it doesn't really even matter. Like, for me, it's how do I'm very aware of and keen of how I feel in my body, and whether I'm in a situation or I hear something that doesn't resonate with me or that feels off. Like, I would trust that, not like it's the truth even, but I would tend to trust that experience that I'm feeling in my own body or that I'm sensing as my guide, rather than placing judgment on that this is the truth. Because then I begin to have my judgments and opinions about you're wrong, I'm right, and then it begins this whole other dichotomy.
What came up for me, and I hear this a lot, is whatever is true for you, find your truth. If you take that a step further and you look at really some of the most horrendous human acts that that have ever taken place in history, they're based on this is what's true for me, right? And so you really have to question. I think that's where the beauty of the questioning comes in, is you have to have some healthy doubt. I think, I think in some Buddhist thinking that I've been introduced to, that is kind of the essence of it, is rather than believe in something and then based on your belief act out of that belief, why not go into the experience with a sense of curiosity and I don't know, and that's what I'm here for. It's because I don't know and I'm here to learn through my experience. That's the kind of truth that Jesse, I think, just alluded to, is I don't know ahead of time because I haven't had this experience yet. I don't know what's true in the next moment because I haven't lived the next moment yet. And, that sort of curiosity opens you up to that moment and to really feel, I guess, what you might refer to as a universal wisdom or a universal sort of truth, not with a capital T, but with, for me and for you, is, do I resonate with this person in this choice in this moment right now? How does that feel for me? I don't know. It's a big question.
So, the question for me out of that comes, I have beliefs. So what is the difference between beliefs and truths?
Yeah.
What is the difference between beliefs and truths? Like, I believe that when I walk into the room, this chair is going to be here. I can sit on this chair. Is it the truth? No. Someone could be behind me and can pull the chair out from under me, and I think I'm going to be sitting down because I believe the chair is there, but that's not the truth. So what is the difference between beliefs and truths, and what is the difference between beliefs and truths?
Well, I think it's the way you frame it. If you have been brought up in a faith-based system that says there's only one truth and all other truths are delusion, then you feel limited. If you've been trained up in a belief system where it says there are many paths and they're all going to lead to the same place, then you're like, oh, then that doesn't. Then my beliefs can shift, and maybe I don't necessarily have to consider consequences. So the belief system that you have really frames your reality. You might be having a reality of fear or a reality of joy, depending on your belief system.
And I think conceptually, if you look at the word truth, the counterpart is falsehood. So in order for that's where the exclusive truths kind of originate, is the assumption or the presumption that if there is a truth, then there has to be an accompanying falsehood. So we have to identify everything that's not this, and everything that's not this is false, because I've identified truth.
Here's what I would like to know. I'd like to know what your beliefs are.
I was raised in a faith-based system that said there is a creator, and you must do what he says or suffer conscious eternal torment. That was my basic truth, my basic belief system. Somewhere along the way, doubt came into play, and doubt acted as a catalyst to move me away from a fear-based system. I entertained people, ideas, thoughts, and it led me into a journey that maybe what's going on here is bigger than what my belief system was. And it allowed me to have a new change. And now I can have the opportunity to realize this evolutionary process that I'm undergoing, we're all undergoing.
All the time.
Yeah.
And this belief system can change. But I do think that there has to be some fundamental, foundational things. I try to move towards not harming, but what does that mean? Does that mean the plants you eat are harmed because you ate them, or the animals you eat are harmed?
There's so many ways you can take.
So Justin, what are your beliefs? What do you believe?
Very much like Dave, I was raised in a conservative, faith-based family. I was raised in a Jewish family, and in Judaism, traditionally, there's lots and lots of rituals. It's a very old religion, and just by the very nature of it, we are the chosen people, right? We're the chosen ones, and God created all life. However, this tribe, this Jewish tribe, essentially has this special covenant, this relationship with God that is exclusive, that no other people have. So here I am. I haven't changed a whole lot since I was a little kid. I still question everything now. I still question everything then.
You're much hairier.
I'm a lot hairier. Actually, when I was 5, not much has changed since. Yeah. You should have seen the hair on my chest.
Wow.
I mentioned that I'm Jewish. I'm also Middle Eastern. So really my natural question was, okay, let me get this straight here. So the entire Jewish history, biblically and historically, is based in persecution, right? The Jews always just wanted to freely practice their religion, uninterrupted, just be a part of society, but practice their religion. And yet, for some reason, everyone wanted to persecute them and kill them. Oh, I wonder why, when you claim that you have exclusive rights to God. I mean, think about that. That's a big thing. And now we have this kind of flip side situation in modern life where we call it religious tolerance. And I think in some ways it's wonderful and beautiful that all these different worldviews can coexist in one society. And at the same time, I think it's kind of ridiculous. Because if you have if one religion says that women should be stoned for cheating on their husbands,
Sure.
and that's an inherent part of the religion, and then you live in a culture where the legal system doesn't support that, and the cultural beliefs don't support that, and that's not the trajectory of the culture, then how do the two fit in? Something has to shift or change in order for that to integrate. So, for me growing up, I was just like, none of this makes sense. I love the sense of community and family that religion and that those religious traditions create, and the energy that creates, during the holidays or the sense of cohesion that creates.
Community and
Yeah.
tradition.
And I think that from an evolutionary standpoint, that's the purpose of religion, is it created cohesion amongst all of our differences. We could all be different as individuals, but as long as we believe this same story, then we're together in that. And I think, in that way it connected us. And then there always has to be an other, right? So there's self and other, there's me and you, there's my religion, there's your religion. And so, that there goes, that's how it goes. And at a certain point, you're just like, wait a second. I wasn't born with these beliefs. I learned them just like I learn new beliefs today and tomorrow. Beliefs are not inherent. That's not how my consciousness works.
Well, so then listening to both of you, then I'm left with another question, which is, I notice, maybe it's an observation, I notice that we have beliefs about our beliefs.
Right.
Rather than just actually being with, my beliefs right now are, if I'm hungry, I believe I need to eat. I believe the sun's going to come up. I believe the sun's going to go down. I believe, there's like very simplistic, like, what do I believe? I believe, if I'm tired, I need rest. I believe I have energy some days, and I know that I don't have energy other days. I grew up in a faith-based Christian home as well. I think when you're so inbred in those conversations, it is like what Justin said. It is, we all believe the same thing, and you never stop and actually find out, what do I believe? And for me, that turning point came for me when I was 29 years old, and I was at the point of going through a divorce, losing, all time with my kids, where I spent all time with them, to now custody, to getting valley fever, being very, very sick, to being fired from a job for sexual identity and orientation, for coming out as gay. And, my kids were coming over for the weekend. I had no food, had really nothing for them to sleep on, no money. And I was still going to church at the time. And I went to my pastor and I said, here's my situation. I have no money. Kids are coming over. I'm asking for one of two things. Could I have a bag of groceries so I have food for the kids for the weekend? Or could I have $50 that I could go buy groceries for the weekend? And knowing my experience and what I was going through at the time, the pastor's direct words were, let me think about it for a moment, went out and thought about it, talked to whoever. And the answer was no. And it was based on that I was gay. And my exact response to him was, and I remember in the moment thinking to myself, and I said, this was not the love or the God that I grew up with. I mean, this is not the love I experienced when I grew up. Like, that's not what I believe love is. Like, this is not expressing love. And so for me, it was that moment of, what is love? Why am I here? What is the meaning of life? If this is not it, and this is not what I want to experience, this is not what I grew up to believe, what do I believe now? And it began that journey and that exploration of, what are my beliefs? What do I want to believe? And it turned over every set in stone belief that I have and created a whole new turning over stones and exploring, what are my beliefs? What do I believe? What do I want to believe in? What works for me? What doesn't work for me? When I think about beliefs, it's like that's what I begin to think about is, man, I believe my stomach is upset. Why is my stomach upset? I'm going to discover why my stomach is upset. And whatever, I'm experiencing bliss and joy and happiness right now. Why am I experiencing bliss and joy and happiness right now? And beginning to create my beliefs around those experiences, rather than still looking on the outside and be like, okay, this is what everyone believes in, so this is what I have to believe in.
So you had a belief system based on your community, based on what other people said, maybe your parents, with or without any empirical data on that. It was just the system in which you were raised in or
indoctrination.
Given. And it always bothers me when parents say, well, we don't want to teach them anything when they're like 3 or 4. We want them to to find their own journey. I'm like, okay, well, maybe they need a little bit of certainty that this is dinner time and don't hit your brother, and so maybe there's a point in time where we need to have that built-in certainty. You're safe, you're secure, this is how it is. But then as you begin to evolve and grow, maybe those are those adolescent years where you need to find and define what is your belief system.
Well, I think even if you think about it, like even if you start at that younger age, a sibling, they fight, they hit each other, whatever. Why was it done? Was it done out of anger?
Right.
Was it just playful? But you begin to, rather than saying right or wrong, like don't ever hit your brother, it's wrong or whatever, like even begin to question.
Right.
Why did you hit your brother? How do you think that made your brother feel, or your sister? Or like begin to engage in teaching our children to go inside and actually experience, what does it feel like when I hit my sibling, or when I call them names, or I call, I'm at school and I call, I start being bullying another child or saying ugly things to another child. Like, how about if we start checking in inside at a very young age and noticing, almost like the golden rule, like you've talked about before, is like, how do unto others as you have them do unto you. But first start like inside, how does it make me feel when I do that? And what kind of experience do I want to have around me? And I think that as children, why not be able to engage in questioning, as well as, yes, there's still like, you're going to have a place to go to bed tonight, you're going to have food on the table, like those are certainties that and beliefs that we have, and at the same time being able to begin to create that own internal belief system from inside and teach us to trust ourselves and our beliefs, because that's at the end of the day, that's all that matters, is what do you believe inside.
That's good. Justin, when you were sharing about the faith system you grew up in, I was going to say, it felt like you were in an exclusive system where you were safe and secure, or the people in your community were safe and secure.
Well, he is, because he's Jewish.
He is, because he's the chosen.
He's the chosen.
Not to one-up you, but in the faith-based, the Christian, Western Christian system that I grew up in, strong fundamentalism, you are told that you're safe and secure, and you're actually superior to the Jewish people because you now have Jesus Christ, the Messiah, who's come, and he's the answer to all the problems. We don't have to model his life. We just have to give mental assent to, dear Jesus, come into my heart and make me clean because of your atonement on the cross to pay for my unworthiness. And so now the white American Christian looks at the Jewish man and goes, we're superior over you. I wanted to get to the dichotomy of inclusivity and exclusivity.
It's the essence of the whole thing. It's the big perspective on belief is that if it exists, if a perspective exists, then, and it is true for that believer and for that experiencer of that perspective, then there is a partial truth to it because it exists at all. So the Judaism-Christianity relationship is fascinating because Christians believe that Jesus was the fulfillment of Jewish prophecy. So in that sense, Christians need Judaism. And so the set and setting of the Bible is in Israel. And then you incorporate, this is a big take on it, then you incorporate, global politics into it and how Israel historically is a setting in the Bible, and then now it's a Jewish political state, right? So, so you put all that together, and then all of a sudden Christians have this, I think a lot of modern Christians, when they do really get into the biblical story, feel a sense of connection to Israel because that is, that's where the entire story took place, and therefore feel a connection to Judaism and target Jews. There's what are they called? I guess missionaries.
Proselytation.
Where they there's like entire organizations called Jews for Jesus.
A Messianic Jew.
Messianic Jews. So then, it's fascinating when you really look at it. It's fascinating because really it's recruitment.
Yeah.
It's recruitment into your
belief system.
Because
you know the truth and you want other people
and
to know
and
it.
there's a good-hearted place, I think, that's coming from. I think it's pretty similar to, I go to a restaurant and I love that restaurant and I want to tell all my friends about that restaurant and I want them to go to that restaurant. It's what social media is all about. It's the fact that we want to share the positive and the negative that we experience. It's our desire for connecting with one another.
That's right. So Yelp is the answer to everyone's problems or questions of life. This is what's good, this is what's bad.
It's really it's what drives us to, what's the word, proselytize?
Yeah.
Is that the word?
Yeah.
It's what drives us to proselytize. And that is a form of proselytizing. And with religion, it's like, man, I felt that just sense of directionless, aimless living through life, and I found Jesus.
Jesus gave me a sense of purpose.
And it gave me a sense of purpose, and I felt fulfilled in my heart. And I want you to experience that, not out of a malicious intent, but out of a genuine, you were probably lost like I was.
Absolutely.
And I want to help you.
Yeah.
And it's, in that sense, it's pretty innocent.
Yeah.
But in the
because I was sick and I found the medicine and it healed me, and I want you to be cured
Right.
of the sickness.
And in an institutional sense, that's when it becomes kind of insidious. When you look at institutions, when you look at like how religious institutions have always coexisted with political institutions and how they've been used as social tools in that way, it gets kind of insidious in that way. But I think on a personal level, when we have those personal peak experiences and we relate them or associate them with our belief systems, we want to share that belief system because we want others to experience that same, pure goodness and bliss that we're feeling.
Good.
Yeah, and then what I would say to that is that's why we do want to share that, and that's why we do have churches and why we do have organizations and why we do start communities and events, is we want to experience and share our beliefs, and we also seek out going to church and going to and experiencing events because it does create that connection with all of us. And so there is a very good place for people to be able to experience church. It creates community, which is what we all want. So one of the biggest things I noticed during the economy crash a few years ago is the one thing that still really, that I observed at least, maintained was the sense of community and connection that people wanted to have. Restaurants, good restaurants, seemed to really flourish during that time, where you would walk by and you would see businesses that were closing, and you would drive by and see businesses, restaurants that were flourishing. And you have to ask yourself, when there's a lack of money right now with people and people are scarce and scared, why are we still spending so much money going out to eat? Is because we want to experience community, we want to experience connection as human beings, and that's why people go to church. And that's why people have organizations and community and create those types of things. It's one of our basic needs, and that's we share our beliefs then inside of that community.
That's good.
Yeah.
So to wrap it up on this episode, what are your beliefs? What do you think? With today's Turning Stone, we turn to Jesse.
The question to practice this week is, what does your soul desire to experience in this moment and this moment and in this moment that would have it be fulfilled? And so as you're observing what does your soul want to experience in this moment of time to be fulfilled, you want to have something to explore this week is, what are your beliefs? How did you create your beliefs? Where did your beliefs come from? And then for myself, and I would challenge you to begin to look at, is what beliefs actually work for you now in this moment, in this day of time, the age that you're at, the career that you're in, the people that you're with. What works for you right now? What are your beliefs? And maybe jot some of those things down and see what works for you, see what doesn't work for you anymore, and create some new beliefs. That's the magical thing about beliefs, is you can always create new beliefs. And remember, this is a show about questions and questioning. It is not a show about answers. Nothing we say is the truth. It is up to each of us to discover our own truth.
Join us each week on the Turning Stone Show as we continue our journey of conversations.
Subscribe and get in touch with us. Stay connected and join in the conversation.